sure I'm not malnutritioned. I make all my food at home and carry it wherever I'm going. You need to know where all your money is going. You need to know what you're going to eat and when you're going to eat it. Only buy things that you see as investments. So I'm a 19-year-old university student. I moved out of my parents' house on my 19th birthday. I am currently happily existing on a 1,000 pula budget per month. That would make it like $100 per month. Hey, I'm Cass and I don't talk this much in person. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how I survive on a 1,000 pula budget per month, and I am pretty much going to be teaching you how you could do the same or even better with your budget. So let's have a little backstory. Back in 2018, I was like 17, first year of university. I went to another school where I was on like government sponsorship, and I lived on campus. That means that I had like a 1.4 allowance every month. And if you live on campus, you know, or you should know, that this is definitely more than you will need to survive. But back then, a friend of mine told me that she was self-sponsored. She probably got like an allowance of 800 because her parents knew that all she needs that money for is to buy food and toiletries, because she already had accommodation. She didn't need to pay for electricity. She didn't need transport. She just needed to buy food. So yeah, and what she would generally tell me is that you really don't need all that money, and I literally didn't understand how. I'm like, but it's not even enough. Like halfway through the month I need more than I already had. And it wasn't until I took a gap year back in like 2019 that I realized that okay, that 1.4 actually was a lot. And then after that I had to switch my mindset, because then I was back to being broke, you know, back to having no allowance, back to making my own money. Now this is going to bring us to our first point, which is minimalism. And with this will mainly mean that you should only be spending money on the things that you probably need the most. You don't need to eat out 3 times, 4, 5. You don't even need to eat out. Like, damn, you're a student. What are you doing? You don't need to eat out. You don't need to buy clothes every month. You don't need a new pair of Jordans. You don't need a new purse. You don't need minimalism. You know, don't get things just to flex. Only get the things that you need. Only get things that you know you will use, and only get things that you can use for multiple purposes. Cheap but quality living is your friend. Like, you and cheap living should be like this. I would currently say you could either like move in with a relative who's around about your age, or even move into a nice house and then have roommates. Now that's another point that you should look at, is having roommates. Like, when you choose your living place, always look for an option that will give you the same amenities as you would want to have maybe if you're living with your parents, or better, for a decent price. This is not saying that you should go out and look for like some bougie ass house in Pakalani or something and then try to split the cost around about 8 people, but generally, before you even getting ready to move out, this is for people who are probably not going to live on campus. Look at different options. Look at places that have like decently sized rooms. They have geysers, they have good hot water, they have like beautiful windows, nice walls. And then look at how you could probably move into that space maybe with some friends. Like, could you and 4 friends split that budget? Technically, if it's 2,000, you actually could get some decent houses for 2,000, and then 4 of your friends move in, 2-bedroom house, you and your bestie share a room. There's like living on campus, because you're always going to have a roommate on campus, except for if you're like in your 3rd or 4th year. But it's like living on campus, only you have the option of cooking whenever you want. You have like your shower right in your room. You have the option of doing whatever you want to the walls. You can decorate however you want. It's like better than living on campus, only for a decent price. And it's, you know, so you have to plan, you have to be smart about how you do this. And yeah, now another tip to making your budget work the most minimal amount is you gotta budget to the last tebe. And for me, this would be like, out of that 1K budget for per month, I budget to the last tebe, literally the last tebe. And this means that I know exactly where all my funds are going. I know how much I have to spare. I know how much I'm having going towards my transport, my food, my utilities, how much I'm investing, how much I'm saving, how much I'm wasting. You know, you gotta know every single thing. And let me just give you like a quick draft of how it would work. Like, if you're putting together your grocery list, instead of just saying, oh, I'm probably gonna spend like 500 on food, and then you write that down and leave it. No, you have to go into that food budget and then be like, okay, I'm going to spend 45.95 on cornflakes, and then you write it down so that you can add it up, and then you'd be like, okay, 12.50 for milk, $12.50 for milk? Do I need 3 boxes times 3? Write it down as is, the exact price. And even like if you need to, just round it up like by 1 kula or more, so that you stay within the price range, and then most likely we'll come back with change. Now, because I budgeted everything down to the last hebe, that means that I don't walk in there and be like, okay, I have a budget for 500, let's see what I can fit in there, let me just grab what I can off the shelves and hope it fits. No, you need to know exactly what you're getting. You need to know exactly what you don't have. Now, while on the topic of shopping and like grocery stuff, you need to know that if you're going to make this budget work, you need to have a meal plan. Technically, how I do it is I need to know what meals I'll be able to make out of what I'm buying. This means that I'm going to look at every meal option that I want to have for the month, and then write it down. Writing down things, yes, your friend, go get a notebook, pen and paper, and do your things. But I will literally look at it in this way. I think if you want me to, you should comment down below if I should do like a whole video on how to meal plan efficiently as a student. But I will write down things that I want to have for that month, meaning I'll literally put it down as my proteins, my vegetables, my carbs. And in this case, the main scenario is that when you go grocery shopping, you're going shopping for ingredients to make meals, not just for food. You're not going in there to shop like, okay, so I need food, I think I need cereal, I think I need juice. You need to go in there with a list of things that you know, particularly what you're going to use them for. Okay, so another big tip is to only buy things that you could see as an investment. It's like, I would say for myself, since I know what my budget is like, I only buy clothing that I know will last for a while. This doesn't mean that it has to be from like an expensive brand. This means that I have to actually look at it before I buy it and like check the quality, make sure that this is something that will last. It has to be good quality, and it has to be something that I know I can wear through multiple seasons. And if it's only going to last for one season, is it something I can wear for one season through multiple years? Is it something that I know I can mix and match with different items in my closet? You know, don't fall for that trendy thing where you're like, ooh, we got like neon green tops and stuff, I'm gonna get one. How are you gonna wear that in winter? How are you gonna wear that in autumn? Another thing that I do is that if there's something trendy that I really want, I'll just make it myself. And this is usually also why I thrift most of my clothing, because most of my clothing actually, it's either something that I actually bought from a shop that I know that I can wear for like a really long time, maybe like a pair of jeans or something, or something that was a hand-me-down, maybe like from my mom's closet back in the 90s, and I'd be like, ooh, this boujee AF, I can wear this with so many things. Or something that I thrifted and it didn't fit me right, and then I edited it, because this is also another tip that I would look at. Most likely if you can sew. If you can't sew, girl, learn. But you want to be able to make sure that you're getting really good quality things that you can alter for yourself. Meaning that if you want one of these trendy skirts that are like going around on Instagram, you could make it yourself. Instead of paying $800, instead of paying $300 for it to be shipped all the way to you, you could like go out, look for it, get something that's like 2 sizes up, trim it down, sew it, hem it, make sure it fits you, and you're good. Now, tip number 5 would be to plan everything like a crazy person. Literally, before I moved out, this was me planning where I'm going to move out to from like May, June, July, April, May, June, April, May, June, from April, like I planned everything down to the last teaspoon before I moved out, because I didn't want a situation where I'd get here and be like, oh, I have a bed, but I don't have bed sheets for the bed. Oh, I have a stove, but I don't have any pots. Oh, I have a window that doesn't have a curtain. So technically this is what I'd do every other day before I moved out, because obviously me moving out, I moved out on that same 1K budget. That would be crazy to some people, but then here's the key. Plan everything. I think I'll put up a sketch somewhere here of the picture that I used, but I literally looked at the dimensions of the room, because I already knew the place I was going to move into, which means that before you even think about moving into a place, look at it. Like, go take a look at it, or at least envision the type of place that you want to move into and plan it. Make sure that you know what you're going to do with this space. And you could look at like the item here that I literally sketched out how I wanted the room to be laid out. Like, I planned out where I want to put the bed, where I'd want to put the tables, where I wanted to hang my items, where I'd want to put my chairs, where the space that I'd use to study, what I'd use as a food prep area if I was going to use it as a studio apartment, where I was going to put my study stuff, where I was going to put my fashion stuff, where I was going to put my design stuff. And this technically meant that even for every surface, I knew what I would need for it. I knew what I would need for the bed, I knew what I would need as decor, I knew what I would need for my study materials. I knew that, okay, I'd probably have a lamp, but will I need a bedside table? Can I use my bedside table as a study desk? If I put it in a strategic place can work both ways. And then this is also where knowing the place comes in handy too, because if you know where your windows are, this works to your advantage too, because you know, okay, maybe if I put my study desk under this particular window, that means that I don't have to have my light on all the time for me to study. This also for me was like, before I moved out, since I was planning this, I knew what I was going to use to cook. And the best way to save money in this category too is to, hand-me-downs are your best friend, literally, because for me to move out, cheapskate or not, everything that I have here works, but the fridge that I have was the one that we used to use when I was younger. My parents moved to a place where they were using solar power now, so they're like, okay, we got a fridge, we're gonna leave it in Cabroni. That's the fridge that I'm using now, and it's like all day. If I remember opening this fridge when I was 3 years old, but it still works. It works like pretty good. The same applies to the current stove and cooker that I'm using. It was like, my parents had a 2-burner stove when they were like, before they moved to where they're living now. They moved to the farm, and that's what I'm using now to cook. I didn't have to buy my own stove because I used one that they already had at the house that they weren't using. Same applies to the cooker. There's like a little mini fryer thingy that I could use to make stir fry. That works too because it doubles as a pot, and I don't know what they're called, but they're like the coolest things. They have an element connected at the bottom and they just cook your food. They're cool. And the only electrical appliance that I had to buy in this case were, well, the only electrical appliances that I did buy were my kettle and my iron, which I didn't even buy when I was moving out at the age of 19. I bought when I was in university with my first allowance. That first huge stack of money that they give you the first time when you're going to university, that's what I bought my kettle and my iron with, and money saved. At this rate, I'm actually at that point where instead of having to spend a huge chunk of money to get settled in, to get moved in, because I planned it and I knew what I'd need to use, I already have a fridge to put my food in, I have a stove to cook my food on, I have hand-me-down spoons from home. I counted how many spoons I'd need, what I'd need to use to make cereal, what I'd need to cook a meal. Oh, also my pots and pans were like hand-me-downs from my sisters. My sister, from my older sister, because she moved out before I did, and then she like bought these really cute pans and pots, and then now she moved back to school, so she doesn't cook where she is, and that's what I use. And then this is also another thing when it comes to planning, is that because you're planning it in advance, because you're doing this before you have the pressure of trying to find something that you need to use now, you can also plan out your color scheme. This means that you won't have some whack ass looking place with mismatched items because you planned this, right? In this case, for me, that would be like me thinking, okay, I want a color scheme for my room. I want it to be white with hints of black and brown, a bit of blue, a bit of purple. Planned it. So this is what I did. I realized that, okay, the place that I'm moving into has white walls, which means I'm gonna take my white bed sheet and my black and gold and black and blue room accessories that I already have, planned out how I'm going to put them in the room, and I'm like, ooh, okay, that works. And then for the items that didn't really match, I knew where I was going to put them that wouldn't interrupt the color scheme of the room. And this means that even for the appliances, they still matched in pretty well. Sixth point, and actually most important, is that you need to have at least one skill that you can monetize, meaning that you need to at least have one thing that you can use as a side hustle right before you get to that middle point of the month when all shit goes crazy. Because even though most of the time I have my shit together, you always have emergency situations where you have to spend money that you didn't intend on spending on certain things. The best way to find your side hustle would be to look for a skill that you have that you can monetize, something that could be useful to most people, that you could charge them for, like a service that you can provide and charge people for. Obviously, you're not trying to charge like extremely weird amounts of money to do a minimal task like washing somebody's car, but look for at least one skill that you can monetize. In my case, I would say that because I've grown my skill of sewing stuff and DIYing, thrift flipping, this comes in handy when I'm running short on money, when I had to use my planned money for an emergency incident. And in that case, I pull out my side hustle. I'm like, I look for things that I want to sell. I sell items that I've thrift flipped. I sell items that I found and altered. I sell things that people are looking for that they probably have to pay extra hundreds of bucks to get online and shipped to them. I save them there. So you look for that skill too. For you, it could be different. It could be that you're really artistic and you can like make memes of people that they would actually have to pay somebody abroad to do for them. You could braid people's hair. You could like do their taxes for them if you understand how those work. Because Lord knows, so many of us don't know how to do our taxes, and we're not trying to get arrested in the future. You could use your social media marketing skills too if you have those. Generally, you could do anything that is valuable to people and make money off it, and this will guarantee that even when you have an emergency situation sometime during the month, you never run short on money. So get a side hustle. And finally, let's look at how you should budget, because everybody, I'm pretty sure at this stage, most people know how to budget, but everybody does it differently, and this I'm very sure of. But generally, this is how I do my budgeting per month. Don't mind me looking downwards. I got a book here. Yeah. So I'll put in a little picture here of how I did my budget the first month when I was moving out. But generally, how it works is that I put 36% for transport, 42% of the money for food, 12% for like a bundle because I don't have Wi-Fi where I'm staying, and 10% goes to savings. Now, obviously, if you're living in a place where you don't even actually need that much for um, your transport, you could do it differently. Just the general concept here is to put it according to percentages when you start budgeting. Look at how much you need to spend on your food, on your transport, if you need transport, on your rent, if you need to pay rent, on your utilities, and then divide it according to percentages, and then work within those percentages. And this, as complicated as it sounds now, after you write it down or make a pie chart if you have to, makes it more sensible, because if everything balances, you should have 100%. You should be able to add your transport, your food, your utilities, your bundle, and get 100% full pie charts. And if something's not balancing, then you know that you need to take some money maybe from your savings. Maybe you need to deduct what you're taking from savings and put it towards transport. Maybe you need to deduct from your food and put it towards utilities. Maybe you need to take from your utility. Oh, that's not good, don't. Utilities, no. But generally, it will just help you balance things out and know where you need to spend more money and where you need to spend less money. So a recap on that: how I survive on 1K per month. 1, minimalism. 2, budgeting. You need to budget everything down to the last habit. 3, meal plan. You need to know what you're going into the store to buy. 4, only buy things that will benefit you for multiple months and years if they can. And then 5, plan everything. And 6, have a side hustle. So that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you.